Hey, CrossFit Vernon, it's Thursday, and we're talking about the 10 general physical skills. We're going to close out our little series on the 10 general physical skills. If you don't remember the 10 general physical skills, we've got cardiorespiratory endurance. I love this thing. I don't know how to get rid of it. Cardiorespiratory endurance and stamina, strength, speed, flexibility, power. We talked about those last week. And, okay, I'm going to stop counting. Balance, accuracy, agility, and coordination. Those make up the 10 general physical skills that we talk about and think about in training CrossFit. Last week we talked about flexibility, strength, speed, and power as our capacity for movement. These correlate in the triangle with bodyweight gymnastics and weightlifting and throws. It's the capacity to move. Do we have the requisite mobility, flexibility to achieve the movement? And then do we have the requisite strength to also achieve the movement? You know, like it's fine if you can bend forwards and touch your toes, but once you touch them, if you can't stand up, there's not a lot of utility to that movement. Same goes with a deep squat. Same goes with 400 pounds on the bench press. If I can lower it down to my chest, that's pretty good, but it's not going to do me any good if I can't then press it back up. I need that requisite strength. And then we closed out talking about the force velocity continuum, where things move from absolute force, where there's no movement, there's just force applied. Imagine pushing a car with the brakes on, to absolute speed, something like snapping your fingers or throwing a baseball, the force velocity continuum. This week, we're going to talk about balance, accuracy, agility, and coordination. These are primarily neurological skills and adaptations, or they're learned. We learn how to do them. We learn how to manage these qualities. Let's quickly define them. Balance. Balance is the ability to maintain your center of mass over your base of support. So imagine a four-legged chair, right? Here it is like this. We cut away two of those legs. It falls on its side. We need to balance the center of mass over top of our base of support. If I'm standing on two legs, now a more specific example, if I'm standing on two legs, one of my legs gets kicked out, what I'm going to do is bring this leg underneath me so that I can then stand on that one single leg. If I don't, again, I'll topple over to the side. So maintaining our base of support, or our center of mass over top of our base of support, or our base of support underneath our center of mass. The next one is accuracy. Accuracy is movement in a given direction or intensity. Intensity is a really important one. We're thinking darts. So darts is the movement, right? Like I want to throw bullseye, 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 bullseye. How about if, like I want to give somebody a fist bump. Hey, great job. Fist bump. I'm not going to wind up and give that fist bump too much intensity. We need an appropriate amount of intensity for our fist bump. Otherwise, it's not going to get the intended message across of good job. It might become something else. So direction, darts, intensity, fist bump. Coordination. Coordination is combining two or more distinct movements in one more complicated single movement. So think about like the squat. The squat is not an uncomplicated movement, but compared to the thruster, it is a less complicated movement. So the squat would be just descending down, keeping the weight balanced under the midfoot, keeping the knees tracking over the toes, hips go back and down below the crease of the hip below the knee, back straight, chest up, all of those things, stand. Okay, that's a lot to manage. It's not uncomplicated. Now let's put a barbell on our shoulders, and we're going to squat with a barbell, and we're going to drive up out of the bottom of the squat. We're going to time it perfectly so that we drive up, and then we use that leg drive to finish with the barbell overhead. Now on the way back down, we want to be patient. We wait for that barbell to come in contact with our shoulders, then we descend down and repeat the rep. So CrossFit has this concept called core to extremity movement, and that's something that we really focus on with our movements in CrossFit. That's part of coordination, is making sure that we're respecting core to extremity movement. And it's the combination of multiple factors into one thing. So a squat, it's ankles, knees, hips. We've got this midline stabilization component, straight back, chest up. There's a lot to manage. Distinct movements becoming one more complicated single movement. That is what coordination is. And agility is the time between movements, so transitions. It could be something like, if you're a musician playing guitar, going from one chord to the next chord to the next chord to the next chord. The faster you can do that, the more interesting you can make your music. If you're a field sport athlete, I'm running in that direction, and then boom, I'm running in this direction. The defender is going to struggle with my demonstration of ability if I can change direction much quicker. So we've got these neurological elements. How do we train them in CrossFit? Well, the first one I already mentioned is using functional core to extremity movements. That's going to train all of these things that we need to practice, right? Like balance is in there. Have you ever lost your balance, especially when you're learning the air squat? So sometimes we lose our balance to the front, sometimes we get up a little bit on the toes. Figuring out where our body is in space really helps with that. So we train these functional movements, and we really prioritize core to extremity movement, which is a piece of coordination. Another one is novel movements. So we're trying to incorporate new movements, even new variations of the same movements, on a regular basis. The more our mind is challenged to learn, the more plastic it's going to become. If we get stuck in these very rigid movement patterns, then our mind will start to prune what it doesn't need, and it only focuses on what it's using. If we continue to challenge it, then it will maintain plasticity. We do lots of single leg exercises. Great for balance, great for mobility, great for coordination, accuracy, agility. All of these things are practiced when we're doing single leg exercises. And we're going to be changing direction often. Like one of the things that we do lots of at CrossFit Vernon is shuttle runs. And we teach it in a manner that gets you changing directions quickly, rather than relying on kind of momentum to get you through it, and doing it in a fashion that's not going to lean into these greater qualities, the 10 general physical skills. Doing it without purpose, we intentionally teach it in a way that's going to help you manage those things. So that's the tail end of the 10 general physical skills, what they are, how we train them, and how we uniquely train them differently at CrossFit Vernon. Short one this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I had my very first, imagine how elated I was, request for a topic. So next week we'll begin diving into periodization, which I'm sure some of you might be curious about. How do the workouts that you do at CrossFit Vernon get dreamt up and put to practice? Well, that's what we're going to start talking about. We'll dig into that pretty deep. So see you next time. Hope you enjoyed the 10 general physical skills, and have a great day.